Hi everybody, it's Dr. Richard Botha again. I'm the Chief Strategist at Knowledge Electronic Media, and we help companies to be successful. And we do that through helping individuals to be successful. People often ask, what does success mean? Well, that's a question that we start every conversation with. What does success mean to you? In every aspect of your life, not just business. Because until a business can define what success means to them, how they're ever going to achieve that. Now, to achieve success, you need good leadership, understand and communicate what they stand for. Okay, so today, let's have a look at the 10 rules that Marcus Aurelius, the last of the good emperors of Rome, jotted down to keep himself on track and to make sure that he is there for the people, that he's the good emperor that he was elected by the Senate to be. Now, you'll see that his musings hasn't changed over 2,500 years. It's still the same. It still applies for today. So let's look at the first one. And it comes out of this compilation that I put together of all the things that I've learned out of books. And it's a desk reference for me, and it should be for you as well, because it really distills down a lot of concepts into consumable chunks that you can grab the book, look at it, and find the answer immediately that you need to solve a problem now. So let's look at the first one. It says, understand that people exist to help one another. In a previous video, I referred to people that call them self-made men or self-made women. And that's absolute nonsense. There's no such thing. And we spoke about people that call them solopreneurs, and they're hardly ever so successful that they make the headlines. People are there to help other people. That's how we were made. That is how the species work. That is the only way that we can grow a family or a business, is with other people and helping other people to become the best version of who they are. Years ago, I attended a conference in Europe, in Antwerp, and the keynote speaker was the CEO of Adecco. Now, Adecco is still the biggest recruiting company in the world. And the CEO had one slide, and it was a picture taken from behind his desk out through the window of the Antwerp harbor. And he started his keynote speech by asking, what do you see on my table? And it was clean, and that was the answer. There's nothing. And he said, that's exactly the point. My job is not to do all the work. My job is to create an environment where everybody can do their jobs and become the best version of who they are. That's the role of a leader. The role of a leader is not to be a travel agent, to tell people to go and do and bring pictures when they come back. No, to lead the way, to say, follow me, I'll show you how to get there. But in doing that, you must create the environment that your people, your team members know exactly where they are, what they need to do, where you are ongoing. You're still the captain of that boat, where you're going, what you want to achieve on what timeline, and what is expected of them. That is the number one rule of leadership. That's why it's so important to keep that in mind and tell you that every day. The second point is be mindful of others' humanity. So here's the definition. It says, remember, it's easy to belittle or to magnify the importance of others when you are making a decision about them. Remember that every person has dignity and pride. How do we take into consideration what happens with another person? How often do we just stop to think, what has gone wrong in their day? What time did they have to get up to be ready for work and to be at the office? What factors are playing into their lives that led them to either miss a deadline or make a mistake? So take the humanity into consideration when you listen. And when you listen to people, do not listen to answer, but listen to understand. And do you know how few people have mastered that art of listening to understand and not listening to answer? That's why you can take it from yourself when you are with the mates doing a braai or at the pub or something, and somebody tells a joke and you think it's very funny, but an hour later you cannot remember that joke. You know why? Because your mind was racing so hard to find a joke that's better and funnier than that one that you can tell next, that people will laugh at your joke. And that's why you never listen to understand and to remember, but you listen to respond. And that's the biggest mistake people make. And that's the one thing that leaders must work on every day is to listen to understand. And if you're married and you teach this to your wife, she will remind you of that often, like my wife does. So it helps to have a team member to remind you to slow down, to listen to understand, and not to answer. Thirdly, it's realize that many mistakes, even huge ones, are the result of ignorance. Now think about that for a second. Why do people make mistakes? Because they did something without having all the facts. They did something without exactly knowing how to do it. And that is probably the biggest money waster in all companies, is where people are expected to do something and they don't have the skills and they don't have the inclination to do it correctly. So we slow down the process a bit and make sure before we appoint people that they do have the skill set, and unfortunately sometimes it's what they claim that they have, to make sure that they will do that. Let me ask you, if you've got a brain tumor, will you go to your local plumber to have it removed? Will you go to a doctor that had a 45% average in matric to do it? Or do you want the best neurosurgeon in the world to operate on you and remove that? Because let me guess, after the operation, you actually want to operate again and talk and walk and be the same person you were before you went into the operation. So you don't want half your faculties back. The same is in business. So nobody makes mistakes by intent. Very few. Those are toxic people that you need to get out of your business as quickly as possible. But when people make mistakes, it's because they either rushed it, they didn't think it through, there was no plan, or they didn't have the skills to pull it off. And that's important for you to assess. The next one is, do not overly exalt yourself. You are not as important as you think you are. You're not as important as your mother thinks you are. And you're never as good or fast or clever or beautiful as you think you are. There's always somebody that is faster or clever or richer than you. So stay humble. That's the big thing, is stay humble. And humble is not mutually exclusive to self-confidence. Humble is to know when to step back, when not to exalt yourself. Because in religious scripture it says, he who exalts himself will come to a fall. Because self-exalting is arrogance. And arrogance has got no place in any relationship. And in business and family, that's a relationship. When you exalt yourself, you put yourself higher than the other person. What do you think their reaction will be? And then the fifth one, the last one for today, is avoid quick judgments of others' actions. How quickly are we to do that? How quickly are we to judge people just on the bit of information, to fly off the handle, to be angry, without assessing the situation, without understanding the situation, without understanding the variables that were not available at the time that the action was taken? And more importantly, what do we learn from that? How do we prepare better for the next time? How do we find out all the variables? How do we plot all the variables? Or how do we find the right team member? It doesn't help that you send the guy that's never seen a golf course to go and represent the company on an important golf day. You get the guy that can actually play golf. The same is for negotiations. The same is, you do not employ your gardener to write the code for the next Mars landing. You get expert coders. So it's horses for courses. So do not always blame the mistake, but blame the unpreparedness that you allowed as a leader to happen. Make sure that you learn from that and prepare for the next time how you're going to do it. We'll stop there for today. If you like the content, please subscribe and hit the bell that you can get reminders of the new videos that we post, because we believe that this is good content for you to grow as a person. And trust me, for your business to grow, you have to grow as a person. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.